And welcome back, Josh Sears and Deion Johnson. This is part 2 of our Week 3 wrap-up. So we're going to jump right back into it. We finished off with Tennessee and Denver, and we were basically talking about how bad Chris Johnson was. So we're going to move on now, and we're going to talk about the 3.5-point favorite Oakland Raiders over the New York Jets, who demolished that and won by 10, 34-24. Sanchez went 27 of 43. 369 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jason Campbell only went 18 of 27, 156 yards, but no touchdowns. The reason that Oakland won that game, Darren McFadden. 19 carries, 171 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's 9 yards per carry on average. What did you see in this game?
What I saw took me back to the 80s, baby. Adidas jumpsuits, Adidas shoes, Run DMC. He went crazy on that defense. He ran all over them. He had a great game. I have to go ahead and give him his props. DMC, you are one of the fastest men in the NFL that I've ever seen in my life. You're big up top, a little bit small on the bottom, but you make it happen, and that's how you win games. The Jets' rush defense is just bad. It's horrible this year. They're giving up way too many yards. They got to get stronger. That front seven has to play a lot better. They only have 4 sacks on the year. 2 of those came from Bart Scott as it is. So what they do, they went out and re-signed Aaron Maven. So they're going to try to get that pass defense back up there where it should be and get some more pressure on the quarterback. They're trying to get the rush defense rather back up there so they can get more pressure on the quarterback. Their DBs are already playing pretty well. They're always done a good job in that area. But I just saw DMC all over the place. So, run DMC, keep it going, baby.
There it is. And we also had, in the same time slot there, San Diego defeating Kansas City 20-17. Matt Castle went 17 of 24 with 176 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Dwayne Bowe had 4 receptions for 67 yards. That's 16.8 yards per catch on average and 1 touchdown. But on the other side, Phillip Rivers, 24 of 38, 266 yards. He didn't have any touchdowns, but Ryan Matthews, 21 carries, 98 yards, 2 TDs. Close game. Good job for Kansas City for scoring more than 3 points in a game. Mm-hmm. And what did you see in this game?
I saw Kansas City come alive a little bit. They actually looked a lot better on offense. Of course, Dwayne Bowe with his receiving yards and his touchdown. I mean, the guy's pretty much a pretty good guy. He's a good professional football player. He comes to play every week, week in and week out. It's going to be hard for them this year because they have no Jamal Charles, so they're going to have to rely on Dexter McCluster and Thomas Jones to carry the load at running back. I don't really see them finishing out nowhere near the top of that AFC West. It's going to be extremely hard for them to go ahead and push past the Raiders and the Broncos or the Chargers. Chargers will most likely win that division. They played great. Ryan Matthews is now starting to show a little bit of the signs of the running back that they wanted him to be when they first drafted him before. And Phillip Rivers, to me, has always been a top 5 quarterback. I don't care who you talk about or what you say. It doesn't matter to me that he doesn't have a ring. The guy passes the ball. He gets it to his players. He's got Vincent Jackson there continuously. He's got all those other guys, and when Vincent Jackson's on the field, they seem to play a little bit better. So Phillip Rivers is always going to do a bang-up job and at least get those guys the yardage that they need. And San Diego should hopefully keep winning.
That seems like that's a very good possibility with their schedule, and we'll get into that on our Week 4 preview. But right now we're going to talk about Baltimore and St. Louis. Baltimore putting up a 30-point victory, 37-7 over St. Louis. Flacco, 27 of 48, 389 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Most of those yards went to one rookie, Torrey Smith, who started for Lee Evans, who was hurt. Torrey Smith had 5 receptions for 152 yards. That's 30.4 yards per catch on average, and 3 touchdowns. Sam Bradford on the other side, not so great, 16 of 32, 166 yards and 1 touchdown. What did you see in this game?
I saw a Rams offense that was just extremely stagnant. I barely saw any Steven Jackson. I don't even think he played. I didn't see much of anything from the Rams defense. They just allowed Joe Flacco to have a field day with him. That rookie did what most rookies will do. He took advantage of the opportunity to showcase his skills, and he played very well. He went ahead, got all those balls. He got his touchdown. He played as best as you possibly can. And the whole point was, when you go into the game, you look at it, you say, okay, it's the Rams and it's the Ravens. This should be a great game. This should be something that we want to see, because Sam Bradford's an up-and-coming guy. From last year, it looked like the Rams would be improving, but it seems like they're just being the same old St. Louis Rams, not impressing anybody and starting to slow down and let everybody get points on them and run all over them. But Joe Flacco aired it out all the way through the air. And Torrey Smith was his go-to guy in that game. They played great. They won the game. And he showed why that big arm from Delaware is why he got drafted.
And now we're going to talk about the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. Green Bay beating Chicago 27-17. Rodgers went 28 of 38, 297 yards, 3 touchdowns, all to Jermichael Finley, who had 85 of those yards receiving. Cutler went 21 of 37, 302 yards and 2 touchdowns. Played well enough to win that game. Matt Forte, not so much. 9 carries for 2 yards at a 0.2 yards per carry average. No touchdowns. That's a career low. And it would have been interesting to see what would have happened if there wasn't mystery holding at the end of that game. Your take on this?
My take on this is that this shows you why Jermichael Finley is a threat for anybody's defense. Jermichael Finley had all those touchdowns in the game, and he was Aaron Rodgers' go-to guy on that field. That just shows you that when the Green Bay Packers are at full strength, it is hard to stop them. All those guys that were injured last year, and they still won the Super Bowl. So the chances of them going back and repeating are extremely high, seeing that they have everybody who was injured back. The only issue is that Ryan Grant seems to have small nagging injuries that keep bugging him. I just saw on ESPN.com that he might not start. And Brian Bulaga may not start next week, so on our preview we'll talk about that and get more into it. But Aaron Rodgers just went ahead and outplayed Jay Cutler in that game. And yes, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go in on it. Since I don't get fined, Mike Carey, you don't like the Bears. What holding did anybody see anywhere? I'm sorry, I looked at that from all camera angles. The guy wasn't even near anybody. You got something against the Bears, baby. You just got to go ahead and say it, and you got to go ahead and believe it. I don't know what you have against them, what vendetta, what they did to you, or who did what in that organization, but you shouldn't coach any more Bears games strictly based on the fact that there are a lot of questionable calls over the years that you have given, that you have called against the Bears, especially this holding. When you look at if you look at that, Mike Carey, you got to think in your own mind. Your conscience got to come into play somewhere and say, hey, look, I made a bad call. Maybe I shouldn't coach anymore. Maybe I shouldn't ref any more Bears games, because this always winds up in a bad situation.
Yep. And Mike Carey, of course, back in 2004, one of his more memorable bad calls against Chicago was up at Ford Field, taking the Bears out of the playoffs with a catch that was inbounds, feet touch, possession of the ball, and he said, incomplete pass, no catch. That was a 4th down play that ended the game and the Bears' hopes for the 2004 playoffs. Mm-hmm. So this is nothing new for Mike Carey. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about Seattle and Arizona. Seattle surprisingly defeating Arizona 13-10. Cobb played great, 25 of 39, 252 yards and a touchdown. Tavares Jackson, not so much, 18 of 31, 171 yards and no TDs. No notable running game to speak of for Seattle, so how did they get away with this win?
The Seattle won this game strictly based on a tandem that used to be in Minnesota, namely Tavares Jackson and Sidney Rice. Those two guys know each other. They have played together. They will continue to play together, and they will continue to go ahead and show up any defense that they come up against, as long as they can continually get the ball from one guy to the other. That is exactly how they won this game. It was Seattle and Arizona. I expected Arizona to come out and play a little bit better and actually win this game. They didn't. Seattle won. Got to keep going.
Next game we're going to talk about, Atlanta and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay beating Atlanta 16-13. Their defense holding in the final minutes to hold on to that victory. So Matt Ryan was 26 of 47. He had 330 yards, 1 touchdown. Roddy White had 140 of those yards with nine receptions. And Jones had 115 of those yards with 6 receptions, Julio Jones. And Josh Freeman, 22 of 32, 180 yards, no TDs. What did you see in this game? How was Tampa Bay able to hold on?
Tampa Bay they just won. The game was extremely low scoring, it being 16-13, a lot of yardage all over the field. But Tampa Bay just held on to win. I expected Josh Freeman to go out there and get them to win. He took it over, and he did.
And so the Colts and Pittsburgh were on Sunday Night Football on NBC. Dallas defeated Washington 18-16, which that final score has only happened 4 times in NFL history. Grossman went 22 of 37 with 250 yards and a touchdown. Romo went 22 of 36 with 255 yards and no touchdowns, and that's actually for the Monday night game. I jumped ahead of myself. Let's try this again. Roethlisberger went 25 of 37 with 364 yards, 1 touchdown. Wallace had 144 of those yards on 5 receptions. And Kerry Collins had 13 of 29, 93 yards, no touchdowns. Pittsburgh did win that game 23-20, and the Colts signed Dan Orlovsky. What do you make on all of this?
The Colts are in trouble. Pittsburgh's doing fine. They're going to continue to win. They're going to continue to keep rolling. Big Ben's there. Mike Wallace is there. That defense is there. They are not going to have any issues on defense or offense. They're going to do all right. Rashard Mendenhall will step his game up continuously, and he's going to run the ball more often. The Colts are in trouble. The panic button was pushed when Peyton Manning didn't step on the field for the first game of the season. And then you go out and sign, of all people, Dan Orlovsky. This guy stepped out of the end zone and got his own team of safety a few years ago, if nobody remembers that. Dan Orlovsky is a career backup quarterback. That's what he is. That's what he always has been. That's what he always will be. He's somebody's number 2, 3, maybe even your practice squad quarterback. So Dan Orlovsky, now that you got signed and you're probably going to get the ball, you better show and prove, because you're playing in Peyton's offense. And it's very hard to learn Peyton's offense and get in touch with Peyton's offensive line. Dan Orlovsky will do nothing for the Colts. They have given up on their season by signing someone so weak and so worthless that this shows you next year, if the Colts have went 0-16 or they are the worst team in the league, Andrew Luck will be in Indianapolis. Mark my words.
Great study under Peyton Manning, though. So that would be good for them. And so now I gave you the numbers on Grossman and Romo already when Dallas beat Washington 18-16. Only happened 4 times in NFL history. Grossman was 22 of 37, 250 yards and a touchdown. Romo was 22 of 36, 255 yards and no touchdowns. Cowboys win with 6 field goals. And we'll get into the last time that happened. What did you see in this game?
I didn't see much from either one of the teams, I mean, it was the Skins, it was the Cowboys. They played a game. They did all right. Rex Grossman did what he was supposed to do. Tony Romo did what he was supposed to do. Dallas came out the victor. You saw a few big runs from Felix Jones, the first big runs of the season for the Dallas Cowboys, rushing-wise, period. And you saw the Redskins try to continue to execute. They played okay, and they're going to continue to succeed in this league. Hopefully, you might catch them in the wild card, but I don't think they're going to finish atop the NFC East. And this was a good game. It was okay. I wasn't really impressed with anybody. The horrible snaps. This center is just bad. Him and Tony Romo's chemistry have to start working better. So you got to work on that during the practice and continue to go. But I did see Tony Romo be a leader, which I rarely see.
All right, and we did promise you the last time that a team won by field goals. It was the Bucs beating the Bears 15-14, 5 field goals to 2 touchdowns. That was back in 2002. Join us for our Week 4 preview this Friday night. And we want to thank you for watching our Week 3 wrap-up. here on the Real Sports Repo. For Deion Johnson, I'm Josh Sears. Have a great